Imagine this. You wake up not to the gentle pull of dawn, but to the immediate crushing weight of obligations. Before your eyes fully focus, your mind is already racing, cataloging the promises made, the favors owed, the meetings accepted, the invitations reluctantly confirmed. Your phone screen glows with reminders, demands disguised as requests, expectations masquerading as opportunities. There's a dull ache behind your eyes, a familiar tightness in your chest. It's the feeling of being stretched thin, a human canvas painted over with the priorities of others, the vibrant colors of your own desires faded and barely visible underneath. You move through the day on autopilot, a masterclass in agreeability. Yes, I can help with that. Sure, no problem. Of course, I'll be there. Each yes feels like chipping away a small piece of yourself, gifting it to someone else until you worry there might be nothing left. You smile, you nod, you perform the role of the dependable, the capable, the ever-present figure. Yet, beneath the surface, a silent scream builds. It's the voice of your own needs, your own dreams, your own exhaustion, drowned out by the chorus of external demands you've willingly, almost compulsively, invited in. You feel a growing resentment, a bitter taste accompanying the forced sweetness of your compliance. You are surrounded by people, yet profoundly alone, trapped in a life meticulously constructed by the word yes. Here lies a strange and unsettling paradox of our existence. We are taught, encouraged, often culturally conditioned to be accommodating, to be helpful, to be team players. Saying yes is framed as virtuous, a sign of generosity, flexibility, and social grace. It earns nods of approval, pats on the back, the comforting illusion of belonging. Yet, could it be that this celebrated virtue, this constant affirmation, is also a hidden poison? Could the path paved with agreeable intentions lead not to connection, but to a profound disconnection from the very core of who we are? Why does the simple two-letter word no feel so impossibly heavy on the tongue? Why does uttering it feel like an act of aggression, a betrayal, a guaranteed step towards isolation? What deep-seated fear holds us captive, forcing our lips to form yes when our spirit cries out for refusal? Is it merely the fear of disappointing others, of facing conflict, of being disliked? Or does it run deeper, touching upon ancient anxieties about survival, belonging, and the terrifying prospect of standing utterly alone, defined only by our own boundaries? Consider the sheer volume of your life force, your time, your energy, your focus, that is willingly surrendered not to your own carefully chosen pursuits, but to the endless stream of external expectations. How much of your precious finite existence is consumed by obligations you never truly consented to, fueled by a fear of the repercussions of refusal? You strive to be the reliable friend, the supportive colleague, the dutiful family member, the engaged community member. But in this relentless pursuit of external validation, where does your life reside? When do you get to claim your own time, your own energy, your own soul? This isn't just about managing your schedule better or learning polite ways to decline. This runs far deeper into the labyrinth of the human psyche, into the philosophical questions of freedom, authenticity, and the very nature of the self. The inability to say no isn't a mere character flaw. It's a symptom of a profound internal conflict, a silent battle waged within the fortress of your own mind. It's an invisible chain, forged not of iron, but of fear, guilt, and deeply ingrained societal scripts. We nod, we agree, we stretch ourselves thin until we feel transparent, almost non-existent. But what if this constant affirmation isn't kindness, but a slow, insidious erosion of the soul? What if the word we fear most, the word that feels like a slammed door, is actually the key, the only key, to unlocking a life of genuine purpose and authentic connection? The answer lies buried beneath layers of politeness and fear, hidden within the very architecture of our deepest anxieties and unspoken desires. Why does this invisible force hold such power over us? And what ancient wiring compels our compliance? That question, why does no feel like a forbidden word, echoes in the deepest chambers of the human experience. It's not merely about politeness or social strategy. The roots run far deeper, entwined with the very foundations of our psychological makeup and the existential currents that shape our perception of reality. The invisible force compelling your compliance isn't a simple fear of awkwardness. It's a complex tapestry woven from primal anxieties, societal conditioning, and the terrifying weight of authentic freedom. Think back to our earliest ancestors, huddled together against the vast and different wilderness. Belonging wasn't just preferable, it was paramount to survival. To be cast out from the tribe, to face the saber-toothed tiger, or the unforgiving winter alone, was a death sentence. This primal fear of exclusion, of abandonment, is etched into our collective unconscious, a psychological ghost haunting our modern interactions. Saying no, asserting a boundary, differentiating yourself from the group. These actions subconsciously trigger that ancient alarm bell. It whispers insidious warnings. Refuse, and you risk isolation. Disagree, and you will be left behind. Prioritize yourself, and you will be deemed unworthy of the group's protection. This fear, often operating beneath the threshold of conscious awareness, paralyzes your tongue, making the easy path of yes feel like the only safe option, even when it leads you away from yourself. Layered upon this primal foundation is the intricate scaffolding of societal conditioning. From childhood, you are subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, trained in the art of agreeableness. The good child is the one who complies, who doesn't make waves, who readily shares their toys even when they don't want to. The good student follows instructions without question. The good employee takes on extra work with a smile. We are marinated in narratives that equate agreeability with virtue and refusal with selfishness or disruption. As Aldous Huxley might observe, society often engineers compliance not through overt force, but through conditioning desires and shaping perceptions of what is acceptable, comfortable, and normal. Saying yes becomes the conditioned response, the path of least resistance within a system designed to value harmony, or perhaps conformity, above individual assertion. Guilt becomes the enforcement mechanism. The moment you contemplate saying no, a wave of pre-programmed guilt washes over you. You're letting them down. You're being difficult. You're not a team player. You are selfish. This manufactured guilt is a powerful deterrent, effectively policing your boundaries long before anyone else has a chance to react. But the rabbit hole goes deeper still, into the realm of philosophy, particularly existentialism. Jean-Paul Sartre famously declared that humans are condemned to be free. This freedom is radical. We are responsible for defining ourselves, for creating our own meaning in a meaningless universe. Saying yes to everything, allowing others' agendas to dictate your path, can be a subconscious attempt to escape this terrifying freedom. It's easier to follow a script written by others than to face the blank page of your own existence and take responsibility for the narrative you create. Saying no is a profound act of self-definition. It is drawing a line in the sand and declaring, "This is where I begin, and this is where your expectations end. This is my time, my energy, my choice." This assertion of autonomy, while potentially liberating, carries the weight of responsibility. If you choose your own path, you alone are accountable for where it leads. The constant yes offers a seductive, albeit illusory, escape from this existential burden, allowing you to drift passively on the currents of external demands. Carl Jung would perhaps point towards the shadow, those parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable and repress into the unconscious. Our assertiveness, our anger, our right to prioritize our own needs. These can be relegated to the shadow if we've internalized the belief that such traits are bad or unlikable. The people pleaser, the chronic yes sayer, is often living out a carefully constructed persona, an idealized mask presented to the world, while their authentic self, including the crucial ability to set boundaries, remains locked away in the darkness. This creates a dangerous internal split. You project an image of agreeability, but beneath it, the repressed energy of the shadow festers, manifesting as resentment, passive aggression, burnout, or even inexplicable physical ailments. The inability to say no isn't just about external relationships. It's a sign of an internal civil war, a disconnection from your own wholeness. Even Friedrich Nietzsche's ideas resonate here, albeit in a nuanced way. His concept of the will to power can be interpreted not merely as a drive for domination, but as the fundamental drive towards growth, self-mastery, and the affirmation of one's own values. From this perspective, The inability to say no signifies a weakness of will, a failure to affirm your own life and values against the tide of external pressures. It aligns with what he might term slave morality, deriving value from the approval of others, prioritizing pity and conformity rather than forging your own path based on strength and self-created values, master morality. Saying yes indiscriminately is allowing the values and demands of others to overpower your own life-affirming drive. And perhaps, as Arthur Schopenhauer might suggest, this relentless agreeability is also a futile attempt to sidestep the inherent suffering of existence. Conflict, disagreement, disappointment, these are unavoidable aspects of human interaction. Saying no often brings these uncomfortable realities to the forefront. The path of yes seems smoother, promising to bypass friction. Yet, this avoidance creates a deeper, more insidious form of suffering. The suffering of an inauthentic life, the slow erosion of the self, the quiet despair of living according to everyone else's terms but your own. You avoid the small, sharp pains of conflict, only to embrace the chronic, dull ache of self-betrayal. This hidden problem, this compulsion to affirm against our own inner truth, is therefore not a superficial habit, but a deeply rooted psychological and philosophical knot tied by fear, conditioning, and the daunting allure of escaping our own freedom. Its tendrils reach into every corner of our lives, subtly shaping our reality in ways we rarely perceive, leading to consequences far more devastating than a moment of awkward refusal. So, this internal conflict, this tangled knot of primal fear, societal conditioning, and existential avoidance, what does it actually do to you? How does this deeply ingrained inability to utter a simple no silently orchestrate the landscape of your daily reality? The consequences are far more pervasive and corrosive than you might imagine. They aren't loud, dramatic explosions, but slow leaks, subtle erosions, unseen currents pulling you further and further away from the shores of your own authentic life. Think of your energy, your focus, your very life force as a finite resource. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you are diverting a portion of that precious resource away from what truly matters to you. It's not just about the time spent fulfilling the obligation. It's the mental bandwidth consumed by dreading it, the emotional energy expended in suppressing your reluctance, the cognitive load of juggling commitments that don't align with your core values. This constant outward flow, with little replenishment directed towards your own needs and passions, leads inevitably to burnout. Not the dramatic flame-out kind, perhaps, but a slow, smoldering exhaustion that leaves you feeling perpetually drained, uninspired, and disconnected from your own inner spark. Viktor Frankl spoke of the search for meaning as the primary human drive. How can you possibly find or cultivate meaning when your days are consumed by fulfilling the meanings and agendas of others? Your potential remains dormant, your passions wither on the vine, starved of the very energy you so freely give away. Consider the impact on your relationships. You believe saying yes fosters connection, builds bridges, makes you likable. But does it? Or does it merely build relationships based on a false premise, on the persona you project, not the person you are? Resentment is the shadow that inevitably follows reluctant agreement. It simmers beneath the surface of your forced smiles and accommodating gestures. You might find yourself becoming passive-aggressive, making sarcastic remarks, or subtly sabotaging the very tasks you agreed to do. This isn't genuine connection. It's a fragile facade built on obligation and suppressed frustration. Furthermore, this chronic agreeability can act like a magnet for those who are comfortable exploiting boundaries. Manipulators, narcissists, or simply those who are overly demanding often gravitate towards people-pleasers, sensing an easy source of energy and compliance. You end up trapped in dynamics where your needs are consistently overlooked, reinforcing the very pattern you're trying to escape. True connection requires authenticity, and authenticity demands the courage to define your boundaries, the courage to say no when necessary. Without it, you build relationships not on mutual respect, but on a foundation of unspoken imbalance and simmering discontent. Neurologically, your brain adapts to your patterns. When you consistently prioritize external demands over internal signals, like fatigue, disinterest, or overwhelm, you are essentially training your brain to devalue your own needs. Decision fatigue becomes chronic. Faced with yet another request, your already depleted cognitive resources default to the path of least immediate conflict. Yes. This creates a vicious cycle where the more you say yes against your will, the harder it becomes to access the mental clarity and resolve needed to say no the next time. Your capacity for discerning judgment, for prioritizing your own well-being, becomes impaired. You are operating in a constant state of low-level stress, the fight-or-flight system subtly activated not by immediate danger, but by the perceived threat of social disapproval or conflict associated with refusal. As Gabor Mate powerfully argues, this chronic, unexpressed stress, born from the suppression of authentic feelings and needs, doesn't just stay in the mind, it manifests in the body. Headaches, digestive issues, weakened immunity, chronic pain. These can be the physical expressions of a life lived out of alignment, the body crying out with the no the voice refuses to speak. Look broader at the cultural landscape. What happens when a society is populated by individuals afraid to dissent, afraid to challenge the status quo, afraid to say no to prevailing norms or demands, even when they feel wrong? Aldous Huxley's Brave New World wasn't just about technological control. It was about conditioning people to love their servitude, to readily accept distractions and conformity over uncomfortable truths and individual freedom. A culture of reflexive agreeability stifles innovation, discourages critical thinking, and allows problematic structures or ideas to persist unchallenged. Necessary change, both personal and societal, often begins with a courageous no, a refusal to accept the unacceptable, a rejection of the path of least resistance. When the fear of saying no becomes endemic, we collectively lose a vital mechanism for growth, correction, and the pursuit of a more authentic, just reality. The unseen consequence, therefore, is the slow, insidious theft of your own life. It's the gradual replacement of your authentic self with a hollow echo designed for external approval. It's the erosion of your energy, the distortion of your relationships, the dulling of your mind, the burdening of your body, and the weakening of your spirit. You become a ghost haunting the edges of your own existence, perpetually busy yet profoundly unproductive in the ways that truly matter. You are caught in an invisible trap, baited with the promise of acceptance and harmony, yet delivering only exhaustion and quiet despair. The urgency isn't just about reclaiming your time, it's about reclaiming yourself before it dissolves completely into the demands and expectations of others. Recognizing the depth of this trap is the first step, but escaping it requires more than mere recognition. It demands a rebellion, a radical shift in perspective that challenges the very foundations of your conditioned compliance. You feel the weight of it now, don't you? The slow drain, the simmering resentment, the ghostly feeling of living a life dictated by echoes and expectations. You see the invisible chains forged by fear and conditioning, the subtle ways your energy is siphoned off, leaving you depleted and adrift. It feels like an inescapable trap, a deeply ingrained pattern etched into your very being. But what if the walls of this prison, seemingly so solid, are actually built on illusion? What if the key to dismantling it lies not in some complex external strategy, but in a radical internal shift? A rebellion waged not with fists, but with a single, terrifyingly potent word. The revolution begins here. You must fundamentally reframe your understanding of no. Stop seeing it as an act of negation, rejection, or conflict. Start seeing it for what it truly is, a profound act of affirmation. Every time you summon the courage to say no to something that doesn't align with your truth, your capacity, or your values, you are simultaneously screaming a powerful, resounding yes to yourself. You are saying yes to your own well-being, yes to your priorities, yes to your energy reserves, yes to your authentic desires, yes to the life that is waiting for you to claim it. This isn't selfishness, it's self-preservation, the essential act of tending to the sacred ground of your own existence. Think of the discomfort that bubbles up when you contemplate refusal, that knot in your stomach, the racing heart, the fear of the other person's reaction. We are conditioned to flee from this discomfort, to choose the immediate relief of compliance. But this is a false comfort. The discomfort of saying no is acute, yes, but it's temporary. It's the friction inherent in asserting your reality against another's expectation. It passes. Compare this to the chronic gnawing discomfort of resentment, burnout, and self-betrayal that festers when you consistently say yes against your will. That discomfort doesn't pass. It accumulates, poisoning your inner world and your relationships. Embrace the temporary discomfort of authenticity over the chronic ache of inauthenticity. As Nietzsche might urge, true strength isn't found in avoiding hardship, but in overcoming it, in willing the necessary friction that leads to growth. Saying no is forging strength. Saying yes passively is often a path to atrophy. This requires challenging the deeply ingrained cultural narrative that equates setting boundaries with being selfish or unkind. Is it truly kind to offer help you resent giving? Is it genuinely supportive to make promises you secretly hope fall through? Is it loving to build relationships on a foundation of suppressed needs and inevitable frustration? True kindness, genuine support, authentic love. These require honesty. They require showing up as your real self, with your real limits. Redefine selfishness. Prioritizing your well-being isn't inherently selfish in the negative sense. It's responsible self-stewardship. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Protecting your energy, honoring your limits, pursuing your own meaning. These are prerequisites for showing up sustainably and authentically for others in the long run. It's the difference between being a flickering candle, quickly consumed by every passing draft, and being a steady flame, radiating warmth from a well-tended source. How do you begin this rebellion? Not with a sudden, dramatic overhaul, but with small, courageous acts of defiance against your own conditioning. Start small. Decline a minor social invitation you genuinely don't wish to attend, without elaborate excuses. Say, "Let me think about that and get back to you," instead of an immediate yes to a request for help. Giving yourself space to genuinely assess your capacity. Offer an alternative. "I can't commit to that right now, but perhaps I could help in this smaller way later." Each small no, delivered with clarity and respect, but without excessive apology or justification, builds muscle. It proves to your nervous system that refusal doesn't automatically lead to catastrophe. It recalibrates your internal compass, strengthening your connection to your own needs and limits. Anchor your decisions not just in fleeting feelings, like the fear of disappointing someone, but in your core values, what truly matters to you. Your health, your creative work, deep connection with loved ones, time for reflection. When a request comes in, filter it through these values. Does saying yes align with what you hold most important, or does it detract from it? This shifts the decision from an emotional reaction to a conscious choice rooted in your personal philosophy, your self-defined meaning, as Frankl would emphasize. Saying no to something that violates your core values becomes less about rejecting the other person and more about honoring your own integrity. Learn to communicate your boundaries simply and directly. Often, the fear anticipates a far worse reaction than reality delivers. A clear, calm, "No, I'm not able to take that on right now," or "Thank you for thinking of me, but I have other commitments," is usually sufficient. Resist the urge to over-explain, justify, or apologize profusely. This often weakens your stance and invites negotiation or guilt-tripping. Remember, you don't owe anyone an exhaustive explanation for protecting your time and energy. Your no is complete in itself. This isn't about becoming an island walled off from human connection. It's about becoming a sovereign nation. It's about defining your borders, managing your resources wisely, and engaging with other nations, people, from a place of strength, clarity, and mutual respect, not from a place of porous vulnerability and resentment. Imagine the energy surge when you reclaim the hours previously lost to unwanted obligations. Imagine the mental clarity when your mind isn't cluttered with commitments that drain you. Imagine the authenticity in your relationships when they are built on honest communication, including the occasional, necessary no. This is the power you reclaim. It feels revolutionary because it is a revolution, an internal uprising against years of conditioning, freeing you to finally architect a life that resonates with your deepest truth. And as you stand in this newfound space of self-determination, you begin to sense that this act of reclaiming your no is just the gateway. It unlocks the door to an even more profound realization, a final truth about the nature of your reality and the immense power hidden within your choices. You've journeyed from that suffocating dawn, weighed down by the phantom limbs of others' expectations, through the tangled roots of fear and conditioning, past the slow erosion of your spirit and into the heart of rebellion, the reclaiming of that small seismic word, no. You've begun to practice it, perhaps tentatively at first, feeling the unfamiliar tremors of self-assertion. You've started to push back against the tide, to carve out small pockets of time and energy that belong solely to you. But the journey doesn't end with simply learning a new behavioral trick or mastering a communication technique. The true power, the ultimate revelation unlocked by embracing your no, transcends mere boundary setting. It fundamentally reshapes your understanding of reality, freedom, and the very essence of who you are. Here is the final, most potent truth. Your no is not merely a shield to protect you from the world. It is the primary tool with which you create your world. It is the ultimate act of authorship over your own existence. We tend to think our lives are defined by our affirmations, by the things we say yes to, the jobs we take, the relationships we enter, the beliefs we adopt. But this is only half the picture, perhaps the less significant half. Consider this. The infinite expanse of potential choices, paths, demands, and distractions stretches out before you every single moment. It is your refusals, your conscious, deliberate no's that carve a discernible path through this overwhelming infinity. Your no is the sculptor's chisel, chipping away the excess marble of possibility to reveal the unique form of your life, the form you choose. Without the defining power of refusal, you remain an amorphous block, pulled in countless directions, ultimately taking no shape at all. This resonates deeply with the existentialist's condemnation to be free. That freedom isn't a gentle suggestion. It's a terrifying, exhilarating burden. You must choose. Passivity itself is a choice, often a choice to let external forces sculpt you. Saying yes reflexively is an abdication of this freedom, an attempt to let the currents of expectation carry you, relieving you of the weight of decision. But saying no, a conscious, considered no, born from your own values and needs, is the purest expression of that freedom. It is the moment you seize the helm, declaring, "This current I will not follow. This demand I will not meet. This expectation I will not fulfill." In that refusal, you are not merely rejecting something external. You are actively defining your internal territory. You are drawing the map of your own sovereign nation, establishing its borders not out of hostility, but out of the necessity of self-definition. Without borders, a nation cannot exist. Without your no, your authentic self remains undefined, dissolved into the collective. Think about the creation of meaning, that quest Frankl identified as central to human life. Meaning isn't typically found passively, it is forged in the crucible of choice and commitment. Your no is the gatekeeper of your meaning-making capacity. By refusing the trivial, the draining, the inauthentic, the obligations that resonate with guilt, but not with purpose, you create the necessary space for meaning to flourish. You clear the ground so that something significant can be planted. You conserve your finite life force, that precious blend of time, energy, and focus, and consciously direct it towards what you deem worthy, towards what aligns with your deepest sense of purpose. A life filled with reluctant yeses is a life where meaning struggles to take root, choked out by the weeds of obligation. A life guided by discerning no's is one where you intentionally cultivate the garden of your own significance. The fear you felt, the fear that held you captive for so long, perhaps it wasn't just the fear of social awkwardness or isolation. Perhaps, on a deeper level, it was the fear of your own power, the power to define, the power to choose, the power to be the ultimate authority in your own life. It's a staggering responsibility. Saying no is wielding that power. It's accepting that you are the architect, the artist, the author. And with that acceptance comes the realization that you can no longer blame external forces for the shape your life takes. Your refusals make you accountable. This realization can be terrifying, but it is also the source of unimaginable liberation. So, look again at that simple word, no. See it not as a weapon of separation, but as an instrument of creation. See it not as a sign of negativity, but as the guardian of your positive affirmations, the affirmations of your own worth, your own path, your own truth. It is the sacred utterance that distinguishes your signal from the noise of the world. It is the foundation upon which an authentic life is built. Your life is not an empty vessel to be filled by the demands of others. It is a masterpiece waiting to be sculpted from the raw material of potential. Your no is the tool that allows you to shape it with intention, with courage, with love for the unique form that only you can bring into existence. Embrace its power, wield it wisely. Let it clear the space for your most resounding yes, the yes to a life lived consciously, authentically, and unapologetically yours. The ultimate truth is this: you define your reality not just by what you embrace, but, perhaps more powerfully, by what you refuse to allow. Choose your refusals well, for in them lies the architecture of your freedom.